From Huesca, with hostages, Part 2. Pass me the commissioner's secretary, I said, careful to stress the word secretary. Wait a moment, he's just coming, he answered. I want to ask you a question, I said, recognizing his voice at the end of the walkie-talkie. When a captain of the Guardia Civil gets promotion, what grade is he promoted to? I don't understand you, he answered, after a short silence. For a captain of the Picos, you are quite stupid. You didn't fool anyone. Anyway, at least you have realized now how difficult it is to attack us, haven't you? I can't hear you very well, he tried to feign. It was from that moment that they started playing with the communication. They didn't realize that they were doing something stupid. They had relaxed on a psychological level because, in spite of our threats, nothing was happening that was any different to other cases in the past. So, when they found themselves faced with the inevitable, all their ideas and hopes went to pot. It was just past 8 o'clock when, after various attempts to enter into communication and make the screws shout a bit, the commissioner started speaking. He began by saying that the batteries of the walkie-talkies were going down and that the commissioner of the region hadn't arrived yet, but he was nearly there. Listen, I reminded him, we want you to put your dark green Peugeot 505 turbo diesel with Madrid number plates outside the gate with a full tank. I can't do that without an authorization from Madrid, he tried. Try to understand. I don't have the power to do that. Stop making excuses and don't forget that the lives of 7 of your screws are at stake. We don't give a shit if we die in the attempt. That said, we don't care about killing your screws either. I poured out in one breath. Then I turned to Manolo, keeping the walkie-talkie on so they could hear. I said, My friend, as I expected, it seems that we need at least one dead body. All right, no problem. Let's send them a corpse to give them a shock, my comrade answered. The hostages looked freaked out when they heard us, and they all asked me to let them talk to the doble. I let them speak one by one and begged their colleagues to save their life. They were cursing everybody, but the worst insults were aimed at the commissioner for being late. When they finished, I started speaking again. If the commissioner doesn't arrive in 2 minutes, we'll deliver the first body, understand? I didn't get any answer and repeated, Did you hear? Still not receiving an answer, I turned to Manolo. These assholes think we're joking. They still don't believe us, amigo, so there's no time left. The moment has come to send them a corpse. Whenever you like, Manolo answered. Well, this is it. The 2 minutes deadline is well past. I switched on the walkie-talkie and shouted, Gate motherfuckers. I know you can hear me. If the commissioner is there, he must come now or the party will begin. Still I got no answer, so I just added, Very well, you shits, you asked for it. No sooner said than done, I left the walkie-talkie on the ground, picked up one of the short knives, and went towards the head screw. He was following the succession of events, his face a picture of terror. Without a word, I stabbed him first in the right side, just above the liver. With the blow, he started screaming. The other hostages also exploded into screams and shouts altogether. Most of them were crying in desperation, and I hit the head screw with such force that I cut my index finger with the steel point sticking out of the blade. Ouch, you shit! Ouch! You're killing me! The head screw screamed. At that point, I saw red. I stabbed him in the chest, the neck, 15 or 20 times. My thrust and force was so strong that the handle broke off the knife and the blade stayed inside his body, but that didn't stop me. I took another knife, the same size, and kept on stabbing him. Finally, I got tired of stabbing him with that knife. I took a 40-centimeter one that looked almost like a sword and stuck him with the blade in the back of the neck and on his forehead various times, as if I was chopping him with an axe. Die once and for all, motherfucker, I shouted at him. The cop was biting the knife to try to stop it, and he still had the courage to fight back until he passed out. You want to kill me? You shit, you want to kill me? He repeated. In fact, when they realized we were going to kill them, the other screws started screaming louder than the one that was being stabbed. I don't know if it was out of compassion for their colleague or just fear. Once I finished the stabbing, I pushed him under the banister to throw him into the void. The other screws begged me hysterically not to do it. I was about to cut the rope that was keeping him tied to the banister by the neck so that he would fall because of his own weight, as, having his feet on the ground, he wasn't hanging, when Manolo said, Pull him up, Carlos. This guy. And he pointed to Jesus Mata, the boss of the center. Has promised to let us have a car if we don't throw him down. I took the cop by the belt and lifted him up. When I let him go, he hit his head against the banister and must have broken his jaw because you could hear something breaking. He lay there with his head on the banister like a rag doll. I took the walkie-talkie and called the gate. Gate, you wanted a body? Well, you've got one now. I've just bumped off the head screw, and if you don't stop playing around with the communications and the commissioner doesn't get here right away, we'll execute another hostage. Esteve, calm down, they said in the walkie-talkie. The commissioner is almost here. He'll come and talk to you soon. The prisoners, for their part, got very excited at the sight of blood. While I was stabbing the head screw, they were shouting all together, "Kill him! Kill him! Kill him!" When it was over, there was a round of applause. I asked them to bring me some stuff to treat my wounds, and a couple of prisoners went to the infirmary to fetch it. It turned out that when all the confusion started, one of our comrades named Sabas was having a visit. These visits took place in the perimeter area, so he was still outside. After consulting me on the matter, the warden sent him in to talk to us. That was before the stabbing. We talked. He told me about a massive mobilization of cops at the gate, and said that he was sure that he hadn't seen the commissioner outside, even though he had never seen him before. I asked Sebas to go out again and tell the cops that we wanted a car. When he got back, I had already done in the screw. He told us that they were waiting for Asuncion to arrive and asked me to let him take away that rag doll of a stabbed screw. What for? He's already dead, I said, astounded. Then the boss of the center butted in. He's still alive, Esteve. I've just seen a spasm. Let Sebas take him away, please. If you do, I promise you I'll make sure you get a car, even if I have to come to blows with the commissioner, the prison warden, or his fucking mother. I saw that Manolo nodded in agreement, so I also accepted the deal. All right, take him away, Sebas. And tell them out there not to do anything stupid. Don't worry, friend, he answered. I think you'll make it because they are really shitting themselves. Then, with the help of another prisoner, a Madrid man called Eduardo, they lifted up the head screw and carried him away. Of course, after massacring him, I doubted whether he would be able to survive. I'd given him up for dead, otherwise I wouldn't have let them take him away. I heard on the radio that when he arrived at the hospital, he had a broken jaw, more than 30 stab wounds, and a pulse of 6 beats per minute, Number 4 intervened. He was tough, that son of a bitch, Number 10 commented. Right. Let me carry on with the story, 8 continued. As soon as he pulled through the door, they called me with the walkie-talkie to tell me the commissioner was there and was about to come in. He came in, accompanied by another 2 people, who introduced themselves as government envoy and representative of the Popular Party, whose role in the event I didn't quite understand. The dialogue with the commissioner was a disaster. Faced with our resolution, instead of coming to an agreement, the guy wanted to show off how tough he was, saying he refused to talk to us unless we calmed down. He told us he wouldn't authorize a car, at least not immediately. Manolo jumped at his words and pointed the knife at the throat of a hostage. And as he pushed the blade against the throat, he screamed at the commissioner, "If you won't see reason, I'll cut his throat." But the guy said that he didn't intend to carry on like that, and that he was going to go. Manolo and I started insulting him. People started hissing at him, and even a few screws hurled some obscenities at him. But the commissioner kept his word and went away. We were disappointed because from the start we had counted on the commissioner being the one to facilitate our exit with his authority. Things being the way they were, we decided to put pressure on exclusively through the doble. And to up the ante, we let the boss of the center go. We were banking on his word, but above all, we were banking on his colleagues, who were still in our hands. We were sure he would try to seek the support of the squad in order to put pressure on the commissioner. Before he left, I said to him clearly, "Remember that 5 of your colleagues are still with us. If we refused a car, we'll kill them one by one. Sure, I promise you that you'll get out of here with the car." Then turning his colleagues, he tried to reassure them, "Don't worry, I'll get you out of this situation." "We trust you, Jesus. Don't let us down," some of them managed to whimper. As soon as he was freed, he made contact with us through the walkie-talkie. I asked him to send me Sebas and to let me speak with the doble. "Yes?" asked the director. "Listen to me. Get a car ready for us if you don't want this to end in a bloodbath," I threatened. "I'm waiting for permission from the Secretary General of the prison system," he answered. "Look, I don't give a shit about Asuncion," I snapped. We don't want to wait any longer, get it? "Mr. Asuncion is on his way," he insisted. "Please wait for him to get here." "We'll see. Call Jesus Mata, the chief of the center," I said. "What's up, Esteve?" Mata answered immediately. "You know the situation better than anyone," I said. "So sort out the car in half an hour, or we'll hand over another dead screw. We won't give you any more time. Either you guys give us the car in half an hour, or we'll do a repeat of what happened to the head screw," I said. "Don't worry, Esteve. I'll manage to get a car for you, even if I have to mobilize the entire team of guards." "Right then. We're waiting," I replied impatiently. I hadn't even put down the walkie-talkie when Manolo called me. "This guy's collapsing," he said. It was true. The screw that Manolo was pointing the knife at was losing consciousness in his arms, while his face was changing color from blue to purple. He was having a heart attack. Gate, I called nervously through the walkie-talkie. "Gate here, what do you want?" "One of the hostages is having a heart attack. Send us a doctor if you don't want the guy to kick the bucket without us even having to stab him." A long, intense, and seemingly interminable silence in the communication followed, until after a while I heard the voice of the boss of the center again. "Esteve, it's Jesus Mata. Do you give us your word that you'll respect the doctors?" "We give you our word," I answered. "Don't worry, as soon as they finish with the patient, they'll be allowed to go. No problem. But they'd better get a move, otherwise this guy is going to be dead." "The doctor, the medical assistant, and Sebas are coming now," he answered. A few minutes later, 2 doctors, the ATS assistant, and Sebas, along with Eduardo, the other prisoner who had come earlier, came up the stairs. When the door was opened, the doctor who was carrying the oxygen came running. That same morning I had had an argument with him, and coming face to face with me now, he was shitting himself. He probably thought he was going to pay for it, the fucker. So, we had to send Sebas back down to pick up the oxygen cylinder. While the doctor and the assistant tended the man with the heart attack, and another with tachycardia, I started speaking to Sebas, who had always collaborated totally. He said he thought we'd won the game because he had seen the doble just go out to fill up a fuel tank of the car and put it outside for us. Our fellow prisoners said the same because they had seen the doble on television moving his car. The news was also broadcast on the radio. I put on earphones and heard from a local radio station that they were clearing the road up to the prison to leave the way open. "Sebas, when they bring the car, I want you to check the main door for us before we go out to avoid any unpleasant surprises. Will you?" I asked him. "Yes," he always answered categorically. "Don't worry, if they are setting something up for you, I'll let you know. Anyway, if they shoot our heads off out there, I'll die in the street fighting for my freedom," I said, full of pride. "Don't worry, my friend, you're going to make it," he encouraged me. At that moment, the walkie-talkie rang again. It was the boss of the center. "Esteve, it's Jesus Mata. Let me speak to the doctor for a minute. Sebas must have told you that the director has gone to fill up the tank of his car, no?" "Yes, he told me," I answered. "I just hope he doesn't go over the time limit. It'll be up in 10 minutes. Now the doctor is coming on." I passed the doctor to him. "It's Javier," the doctor said. "How is the colleague?" Mata inquired. "He's had a heart attack, and we're giving him oxygen. I've given him an injection, but he's in urgent need of medical assistance in a hospital," Javier warned. "Ask them if they'll let him go," I heard Mata asking. I took the walkie-talkie and answered myself. "It's not possible. No one will get out of here until the car is ready and all the doors are open. The time is running out for the deadline, so he can hold on. And if the deadline passes and we don't have the car, there won't be any need for medical assistance. Just the coroner for the autopsy. So the doble had better hurry up." "Esteve, don't do anything stupid," Mata kept up. "The commissioner will be here at any minute." "I hope so, and I hope you're not getting up to something," I warned. Don't do anything to the car, and don't play with the gearbox like they have done in Huelva." They hadn't finished talking when the boss of the section interrupted. "Just a moment, Esteve, the director is here. Now you can speak." "Is the car ready?" I asked. "Yes," the doble answered firmly. "I'm just waiting for a communication from Asuncion to get the authorization." Once again the guy was playing for time. "No waiting," I screamed into the walkie-talkie. "Either we go now, or we'll do what we said. I want you to put the car outside the main gate, facing away. The same time, you must open all the doors, from the first to the last. The nearest cop stays on the opposite pavement. No tricks, or we'll act accordingly. And don't forget, we're not going to make things easy." "All right," he finally agreed. "But you must let 2 agents in so they can lock up your companions, the other prisoners. Otherwise, I can't open all the doors, you understand?" "All right," I conceded, "but close them between the gates, and not in the cells. Let them come now." I asked everyone to go to the gates, which they did without any problem. I told Sebas to go to the main door and out to the car to check that everything was all right. Doors open and no police around. I also asked him to be ready to open the way for us and to be ready to follow my instructions. "Okay," he said, and went down. As agreed with the doble, the 2 screws came in and locked the gates of the corridors with the prisoners inside. After finishing their task, the screws went away. At this point, I must remind you the whole thing had started with the tool who had snitched on Manolo. During the kidnapping, I asked him if he wanted to go and kill the snitch, but Manolo let it pass and told me that the most important thing was to get away. If our attempt failed, then we'd consider it. When I reckoned everything was ready, I called the warden. "Are you there, Jesus Mata? We are about to come out with 2 hostages. Careful, because at the slightest move, everything will go to the devil. Get it?" "I get it, but let the invalids out first so that they can be taken to the hospital," he asked me. "All right, we only need 2 hostages, so as soon as they let us know that everything is okay, we'll let the others come down in front of us. They will go with the doctor and the medical assistant. Get Sebas to come to the center," I added. Sebas came immediately. "Everything is as you wanted, whenever you like." "Right, let's get rid of this lot," I said to Manolo. And that's what we did. After the screws went down and started to go out, we went out. Going through the first door of the gate, I remember the deluge of applause and shouting breaking out, wishing us good luck. A few meters before the wall, I asked Manolo to stop there out of range until I got into the car and called him. "My friend," I remember saying, "if they nab me, give it to them before they get you too. I'm off." I went through the perimeter with the knife well planted on the hostage's throat. After the perimeter there was the last stretch. The car was there with the doors open. Near the car was the boss of the center. I saw the guardhouse with the lights off and the door half open. "That door," I shouted. "I want to see that door completely shut, Mata. Stand in front of it." The guy did as he was told and went to close it. As I went forward toward the car, I could see a police deployment to the right of the prison, and opposite the boys of the press having fun like kids, climbing up on the balconies. I sat on the back seat of the car, dragging the screw with me, and once I was well covered, I yelled to Manolo, "All clear, partner, and mind the guards." "I'm off," I heard him answer. He was at the wheel of the car in a flash. He started the engine and went out with the siren screaming, just to take the piss. It was raining slightly when we got through the gate. It was about 10 o'clock in the evening. 500 or 600 meters on, we came across a control with lots of dazzling lights and full of picolitos. "Friend, I'm going to run them over," Manolo said without hesitation. "Go for it, my friend," I encouraged him. And as he was changing gear to drive into them, we realized that all the guards had their hands up, except one who was signaling us to go on. They were clearing the way for us. We passed Guardia civil cars every 500 meters along the way. We were driving along the N240 towards Lereda, and after about 8 or 10 kilometers, we realized they were following us. We expected it, of course. We recognized a Renault 21 and a Ford Sierra. The Renault passed us. It wanted to slow us down, but Manolo knew how to use a steering wheel and overtook them with a dangerous maneuver. They tried overtaking us again, but we didn't let them pass. Now there were 4 undercover cars chasing us, but Manolo started speeding up and distanced them. We deviated from the N240 towards the regional HU-864 and the HU-872 at Fraga. Then we shook them off by taking country tracks. Much later, around 1:30 a.m., we dropped off the hostages in a place called Les Bourgs del Camp in Tarragona. We tried to change cars at 2:30 a.m. because we had a flat tire and it was impossible to change the wheel as there was no crick or any tools in the car. I tried to nick a 127 outside a bar in Rudons Rus. I forced the guy inside to get out and pointed the knife at his throat. The car didn't start and the guy came back with reinforcements. One of them hurled himself at me and I stabbed him in the chest, making him fall to the ground, stone dead. We escaped from there, and shortly after, we abandoned the car in a gorge hidden among the rushes. We walked along the bank of the stream, moving away the branches that got in our way. I still had enough sense of humor to recall a scene in Papillon, and for a moment we were in stitches. We went on for about 25 kilometers, walking through streams, marshes, and fields, and it never stopped raining. When we had to cross a road, we did it with our hearts in our mouths at high speed, throwing ourselves into the ditch as soon as we saw any car headlights. We followed the railway track to Cambrils. We tried to find somebody there, but it wasn't possible, so we went on our way. Dawn took us by surprise near Salo. We needed to hide immediately. We spotted a little farm, forced open the door, and went inside. We took off our clothes and shoes, which were disgusting, and ate some sultana grapes that were growing in the courtyard. I put on some blue overalls and Manolo some other clothes that we had found there. We also found some spirit and some paternina, which we mixed together and drank in the hope that it would warm us up. I was exhausted and fell asleep. Manolo woke me up, shaking me. "Carlos, wake up. The guy from the farm is coming." I took the knife and we went out to take the guy who was approaching. He was a pensioner who had come to feed the little dog that he kept on the farm. We put him in the house after threatening him with the knife. The man took it all very calmly and collaborated perfectly. At first we wanted to leave him tied up. When he told us that he had diabetes, we decided to take him with us, which he himself had asked. "Okay, we don't want to leave you tied up here and then get done for murder. You drive the car and do what we tell you, okay?" I suggested. Yes, all right, believe me, I don't want to give you any trouble," he promised. The guy kept his word. Before setting off, I cut Manolo's hair and beard. That way we looked like 2 farm laborers with their boss. We got into the car and reached Barcelona. When we got out of the car, the man turned and calmly walked away. He didn't report us until he got back to Salo. We settled in a house that belonged to my mother. We changed our clothes and then jumped over a fence and broke into another house. That night, the GEOS stormed 3 houses in the area, my mother's and the houses on either side. They were about to storm the house we were hiding in, but in the end, they didn't do it. The fact it was locked from the outside with a padlock must have convinced them. Nevertheless, they surrounded the whole area, and all the men had to show their documents to come in or go out. We feared they would repeat the raid again that night, so we decided to leave the area. Some people helped us to put on makeup and dress up as gypsy women. And with all the impudence in the world, we walked right under their noses. After a while, when the police raid was far behind us, I started taking the piss out of Manolo and only stopped laughing to tell him that we had the faces of 2 great whores. Well, later we sorted ourselves out, but that's the story of the escape. What do you think? "Shit, what a fiend you are," said Six. "You talk about Jose, but you're also a devil at telling stories. One day you'll have to tell us something about when you're in Vietnam, eh? Piss off."